All right. Hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredo B. Nash Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Bermilla Jr., and we're your hosts for the Cyber Coffee Hour. Alfredo and I hail from Mount Vernon, New York, and we are excited to share our experiences and stories along with those of our incredible guests. Our mission is to impart knowledge, enhance understanding, and cultivate a sense of community in the expansive world of cyberspace. So for today's show, we will have a coffee chat with digital marketing manager Amani Mansur. Now, Amani Mansur is a digital marketing manager and brand strategist passionate about uncovering insights within complex data sets to drive meaningful and impactful marketing strategies. Her proficiency in Access, SQL, Python, R, and Excel allows her to transform raw data into actionable initiatives that foster brand growth and build authentic connections with audiences. Mansur's approach combines deep empathy for customer needs with a keen analytical mind. By synthesizing quantitative information and collaborating closely with colleagues and clients, she ensures data-driven strategies are resonant. This collaborative spirit is at the heart of her work, enabling the creation of campaigns that truly engage and inspire. With over a decade of experience in digital marketing and creative strategy, Mansur has a proven track record of designing and executing comprehensive marketing campaigns across multiple platforms. Her expertise spans search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, email marketing, and content marketing. She has successfully managed and grown social media profiles, enhancing brand visibility and driving customer engagement. By marrying creativity with data-driven decision-making, Mansur develops marketing solutions that stand out in the crowded marketplace. She aims to create marketing strategies that elevate the brand and connect personally, fostering lasting engagement and loyalty. She's also dedicated to creating and connecting communities for generations to come. Amani Mansur, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm honored. I'm excited.
That's awesome. So again, thank you for being on the show today. And just quickly, just doing a quick catch up. I guess I guess start with you, Amani. Just I guess how you been? Like maybe just I guess how's your week been? I guess as we head into this weekend.
That's a great question. The week has been very interesting. I will say the least. A lot of new journeys are opening. It is a new season, so with new season comes new opportunities. So that's been very good. I've had a very busy week with the school, with the marketing agency that I work with. So a lot of things unfolding. Just learning how to best time management and prioritize sleep. I've
Right.
been staying up later than usual, waking up earlier than most, and I have to remind myself that it's okay to take a nap. It's okay to rest. It's okay to chill. Even when you're doing a lot, you have to prioritize self.
Absolutely.
So overall, a good week. Just a lot
Yeah.
of self-realization.
Yeah, I hear you. Alfredo, how you been, sir?
Same. It's been a crazy week, so I'm still reeling off of Mr. Carlton Brooks episode. I took off and changed hats for the season. So when I took off for training, I missed the perfect part of him and his Breville experience with the spring water and everything. So I kind of resent that a little bit, but I also took notes because my brother actually recommends that I use spring water. So it's over. I'm going down that rabbit hole this week.
100%. Spring water is the best.
Yeah. And then going before that, wonderful energy with the other side of the firewall. I really caught back up and took notes of that episode. And something Shannon said is kind of reminding me of the scene of when Thanos and Hulk battled it out. So Thanos was MasterCard in the private sector and Hulk is Shannon. And I'm over there like, Heimdall, like, give me some dark arts to get my man out of here. So I kind of tied that too, and that staff that he hits Heimdall with is kind of catching up to me. Like, man, I don't want to have to get in trouble for helping my man Shannon out on the public to private side, Outside of that, our book of business is rocking. I've been doing that all week for our listeners. I do this full time now, so coffee hours is my shtick. And it's been exhausting trying to catch up to a lot of the stuff we need to do off the show. So there's a lot of that and maintaining the house and et cetera, et cetera. So.
A lot.
There's a lot going on this week, and I got to remember to take a rest and stay hydrated.
Absolutely. For sure. As for myself, yeah, it's been this past week has been quite busy, quite taxing. So I am looking forward to some rest and recovery this weekend. It's just been just a lot of work. I think just a lot of high intensity, high demand projects. Things that, of course, managing the team. Make sure my team is good, and so it is a lot going on. So yeah, I am looking forward to, like I said, just getting some rest. I'm looking forward to some football. I don't, honestly, not so much because my Giants, they're playing the Browns this weekend, and I think we're going to be 0-3. I don't think we're going to win this
I
week.
see. I'm behind
So
you, man. We getting lumped upside the head. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I don't know if I even want to watch the game. Maybe
Oh
not.
man, don't tell me that.
We'll see. But no. But overall, it should be good. Like I said, just look forward to just kicking back, relaxing, and just taking it easy. So, but let's get into it. So Amani again, Amani Mansur is here on the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. So Amani, how do you balance data analytics with creative intuition when developing marketing strategies?
Oh, that is an excellent question. For me, I do the numbers seven first. I'm a creative person by nature. It's just a natural thing for me. So I get the numbers taken care of first. I get my spreadsheet, get it organized. Then my fun part, the best part, is finding a way to make it creatively easy to explain to a person that has no understanding about what a 200% increase is, or what a negative 6% is. So just making things very interactive in a story format. So I just, more so for me, I compartmentalize my process. I first start with the numbers. That's the most tedious, time consuming one, is getting the numbers, breaking them down, understanding what's happening. Are we going up? Are we going down? Do we make a left turn in traffic? Do we do a detour? What's going on? Is there a traffic accident happening? Breaking that down. Then going to the visualization side and being able to not only tell the story creatively, but being able to look outside of myself and think about the individual who's going to be taking the information in and meeting them where they're at. So I'm not going to just make a visualization board with a whole bunch of numbers. I think I'll spread out the numbers within a couple of slides. And as I'm spreading it out, I'm explaining to them with analogies and examples that are small enough for them to understand, but also very parallel to what we're talking about.
Awesome.
Okay.
So it sounds like you're our friend that tells us the trend in data and cybersecurity, right? So with that, can you share an example how you've used SQL, Python, and R in your expertise to uncover a critical insight that significantly impacted a marketing campaign? Excuse me.
Yeah, so I would say from my experience with SQL, I had a client. This was like my first. This was more so at the beginning of last year when I was in my entry level, and I had a client, and they had a very small business, but it was a scalable business. You could obviously see that this business, within 3 to 5 years, could be a Fortune 500. We're just at the bottom sector, so they had a lot of data, but it wasn't organized. None of it was organized. They had a whole bunch of analytics. They had analytics from their website, they had analysts from their social medias and the different social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and none of it was categorized. So they were just throwing blanks out essentially. So what I was able to do is basically export all that data, put it in SQL, and then explain it to them in regards to what we need to do moving forward and what we should stop doing yesterday. So it was very challenging for me because I was an entry level, and dealing with a lot of numbers for a platform that you're just now learning was, for me, that was, I guess, a nice way to say it was chaotic. It was extremely chaotic. It was time consuming, it was tedious, and ultimately it was one of those things where like you have all these numbers, but they don't know what that means. So it was, for me, it's just a time consuming part, putting all the data in there and then creating graphs, pie charts, scatter plots just to explain what was going on. And then I learned in that moment, after you create the system and showcase it, if they don't understand, you didn't showcase it to the best of your ability. So that was challenging for me, was doing all that work just for them still not to understand it. So it was very interesting. And ultimately, I had to go back to the drawing board and re-deliver this information. And I more so did it in the terms of, I didn't really show them the SQL side of it. I broke it down in a language that they also knew. They didn't understand the SQL. They had their tech people, but they didn't speak human language, if that makes sense. They more so just knew number talk. So I was able to just pull what I was able to create, and then we just had a powwow together. And instead of going through a slide of charts after I lost him the first time, I just said, what I'm going to do to you is we're going to go to the basics. We had a drawing board in the room, and I started drawing everything, literally drawing. It was the most interesting thing for me to have to do a lot just to go back. But I was also able to understand that everyone has different learning languages. And even though I know a software, they might not know that software. And
Right.
even though that I know what that software is and what's going on and what the data is saying, they might not understand that. So I have to be able to explain it to someone who doesn't know. So
100%.
it was interesting.
So
Say
I'm
the
gonna
least.
double dip. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna double dip on the statement before. You are really our friend that's gonna show us the trended data. So I think that plays a good part in what you said in breaking it up and making it easier for folks to understand, the computer language or the raw numbers. So what would you say is your approach to fostering collaboration between teams, data analysts to ensure marketing campaigns are both data driven and emotionally resonant?
Constant
Power.
powwows. Let's get on a call and let's dissect your strengths and let's dissect your weaknesses. So what are you good at? What are you working with? And what are you not good at? Because if I'm realizing I have a team of 6 people, of those 6 people, 3 use their left brain and 3 use their right brain, my conversation and speaking has to be different. If you use your left brain most, you're a logical thinker. So you are great with big vocabulary words, throwing out numbers. Anything analytical, you're gonna be the top dog. But if you use more of your right brain, you're more of emotional and empathic. My language with the left brain will not be how I talk to you. So just kind of for me, when it comes to team and collaboration work, knowing who's good at what, knowing who will be a beast on this side and knowing who will not be a beast on this side, so I can be able to distinguish and give people certain roles. So with that being said, constant powwows, constant updates. I did one of my first project management roles for Revolt. I think it was in May, and it was like the biggest thing for me. And I realized where I messed up was that I had talent, but my talent were good at certain things. And I was trying to think about it in a myopic way of saying, I want you here, I want you there, I want you here. When in reality, I should have let them show me who they were and place them in spaces that were best suitable for them so they could thrive versus, you know, in the weeds fighting for their lives. And then when it comes down to a deadline or deliverable, they're confused. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
I
like
hope I
there.
didn't digress.
No, I mean
No,
that's 100%. Like, yeah, oh, go ahead, Dr. Joseph. You got it.
no, I was just gonna say. So then, from what you're saying, you're keeping them from being out of place. You get an understanding of what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then place them appropriately so that way they can lean into those strengths and be able to deliver.
Exactly. Because what you don't want is someone to be in a space. And don't get me wrong, some of us thrive when we're being pushed in the water. Some of us learn how to swim from being
Right.
thrown into the 8 feet and we were fine. Some of us also drowned. So, with that
Mm-hmm.
being said, you can't throw everyone to the wolves. You more so have to understand what might be best for them. And then when they grow into that space and they outgrow it, then you place them into a space that's better suitable for how much they've grown.
Right.
So I've had to learn that the hard way by, hurting people's feelings or putting someone in a space that didn't showcase their light and causing frustration. So throughout that experience, I learned that everyone is their own individual. And if you give them a space that is in resonance to them, they will thrive. If you don't, they won't survive.
How much harder is it with the left brain folks and the right brain folks when they don't have that environment and have to, basically listen to collaborating as a team or listen to some of the data analytics you've crunched for them?
I would say for the left brainers, we have a lot of smart heads. You know what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. But with that being said, it just kind of comes down to understanding the person and also just hearing them. Because when you're in a team call with a lot of left brainers, you're going to be hearing a lot of words, but big vocabulary words. A lot of people are going to be knowing, everyone knows everything to a certain extent. So with that being said, you have to be very mindful of how you deliver it. Instead of disagreeing, I just say, okay, and. I don't say but. I don't say no. I just say, okay, and. So what if we try this approach? So the left-handers are not as complicated. I would say the right side is more complicated for me because they see things in a more of an optimistic and creative point of view instead of realism. So if I know that these numbers are saying this, if I know that our business is projected to have a 20% increase, no, let's say this. I know the business, the way that it's moving will get a 20% decrease. To a right brainer, they're going to be like, oh, well, we just have to do this. And optimism will feed their response versus a logical person. Realism, numbers, what is the data saying? They'll be able to agree. So it's not just showcasing them the numbers. It's more so just letting them know, hey, if you go outside every day without a raincoat, you're gonna get sick.
Right.
There's no way to ignore that. I don't know what medicine you take, but that's just the realism side of it. So it just overall, I will say, listen to all, take what you need from all, and then present what's actually happening. Because each person is different. I've had calls where
Sure.
it gets very intense immediately. 3 minutes into the call. So you have to also understand that the client is always right to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Quotation marks.
You're right. So how is your experience in search engine optimization or pay-per-click and content marketing evolved over the past decade? And what trends do you see shaping the future of digital marketing?
I would say for search engine optimization, for one, that's like the top dog. I think it beats social media, and that's just my honest opinion. Because everyone's not on social media, but everyone's on Google. Everyone's on Bing. Everyone's on Yahoo. I would say that it has evolved with the aspect of automation. We have AI at our hands. So being able to utilize AI to give us some keyword suggestions, help us with strategy creation, build out a layout for our marketing team so that we could take action versus I will say, let's just even date back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we didn't have the access to AI like everyone did. We were using newspapers to do ads. We were doing radios. We were doing commercials. And don't get me wrong, those were effective in that time. But because we have a very fast world, you have to be fresh on someone's mind. We don't go to the newspaper anymore, or at least our demographic, I will say that. And even the older generation, they're moving towards the internet a lot more as well. So it's just, I would say the evolution of it has changed drastically. And your best friend right now is leveraging automations and AI, especially for pay-per-clicks, because people don't realize that you're paying for every click that you get. And it can become very expensive. But if you know someone's clicking on whatever you put in the internet, that means people are drawn to it versus you couldn't track the results that you got from a newspaper ad. You could ask people that came into your store, how did you find us? But that wasn't really trackable information. That was just more so word of mouth. Now, everything that we do, even if you say you want a red shirt, I guarantee you in 5 seconds, you're going to see an ad that says a red shirt for $11. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it has evolved. I would just say it's a little bit scarier, just in the sense of when it comes down to jobs and the need for certain roles. Because if I know that I could delegate a task to AI instead of paying someone X amount, what do you think a business will do? They'll take the shorter route and pay less. So it's dope, but it's also looking at both sides of it is scary because there's going to become a time where there's going to be ads everywhere. And who's controlling these ads? Who's gaining from these ads besides the business in itself? Who's actually creating this content? And you can see a lot of pages now that those are ran automatically. You can tell the difference. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's a good and a bad for both. But ultimately, we're going to move towards a society where everything's commercialized. Everything. Everywhere you go, it's going to be commercial.
Can I take that real quick?
Yeah.
So I heard something. I heard two things, right? The first thing is, yes, 100%, the demographic and the age gap, right? So the older generation is really reluctant because they could kind of predict the lack of control over their content more than we are, because we were kind of like embedded. We were raised on it, let's say, right? And that is scary because now their day-to-day life is impacted by these same engines, right? So banking, we already know, shopping, like you said, even traveling now. The older generation is kind of like reluctant because they are not used to this. They're not used to this online shopping, getting tickets this way, buying food this way, right? And then getting the ad or what could be potential malicious derived content. Because you're right, what could be used for good is also used for bad against these older folks. The second thing I heard you say, it reminds me of my favorite video game, and keep saying it, Guns of the Patriots.
I never played it.
Oh my God, you gotta check it out. You know, in that game, everything is the future. The game is already commercialized. You can't make a single step out the door or into this battle space without getting an ad from one of these other companies. And it's really scary, like you said, because that's the worst case, right? Complete commercialization, complete control, where you can't even, like you said, look at a red shirt or let alone a pen testing tool. You know, I looked up a pen testing tool. Now 5 of them pop up on my LinkedIn.
Literally.
Yeah. So, Amani, so as a creative director, how do you ensure that brand storytelling, remains authentic and compelling across various digital and traditional media platforms?
Well, I will say for me, being a creative by nature, I know what I like to see when I see an ad, and I know what I do not like to see. So being able to use that discernment, speaking and thinking outside of self makes it easier. I also think what allows my creative directiveness to help a business is like, for me, you have to be creative to grab someone's attention. It can't be overly scripted. You don't want to leverage AI too much that is so robotic and robust. You want it to be personal and heartfelt. You know, when people see an ad, they usually want something to be sentimental. It doesn't have to be, hey, we're doing a 50% sale. It could be a video of a family and then the call to action at the end. So I would say, to answer your question, authenticity, it's easy if you're authentic. If you're not, it creates conflict, as well as you have to understand your client and their audience. So thinking for self, but overstating that my client might have a predominantly older environment, older demographic who likes to do XYZ, and I don't like to do that. I'm thinking more so on a way to relate to the audience. So what will they like to see? It's not what I will like. It's what they will like. What will make them feel in resonance? And that kind of falls into like, doing random beta tests with your followings and with your demographics and doing surveys to get a better understanding of what they want to see more. I think those businesses' smartest thing to do is think outside the business and think as if you were the consumer. What does the consumer want? We're going to give you the money, but you got to earn the money. So just being creative, being artistic, being relatable, and empathizing with your target audience, I would say that's very important. I hope I answered that.
100%. Is that the product market fit that we keep hearing about? Because I just learned about that side of desk. Are we tapping into that true client base and product market fit where they're drawn to that particular platform, or they're drawn towards the digital content we produce?
Yeah, like even look for example, right, on the commercials for the cars, right? You see the car commercials and you don't even realize it's a car commercial. It's a family that's going on a mountain hike and they're playing with their dog. I don't even know that it's a car commercial. I know that it is, but I don't even know that it is until they say, oh, this is for Hyundais or Hondas or the Jeeps. It's more so not pushing the product. It's pushing the experience that you will get with the product,
Yeah. No, and No, that actually makes sense, and you know you're going to see that a lot more, especially with the holidays coming. You're always going to see the commercial with it's, it's typically Lexus. I usually see this with Lexus a lot. Family, big house, and then the spouse they surprise the significant other with this new Lexus truck or something, big old bow outside, and everyone's having a great old time. It's
Mhm.
so yeah. But yeah, you see that type. You always see that type of thing. But also when you talk about like experience, like yeah, it'll start off like the family they're driving down the road. I don't know, they're going to the lake or something, and just going through the whole. They take you through the drive experience of like the car ride experience. The family going together. Then at the end, you'll see it's like you mentioned, like a Honda or a Lexus commercial, whatever. You don't necessarily
Rivian.
get that in the beginning. You get that like
Oh,
towards the end. So
100%.
so as you say that now, I mean, of course, I've always seen that, but I didn't really break it down or really pay attention to it like that. So I
Yeah.
think that's
It's
pretty good.
80% of how you make someone feel. The
Right.
20% is the logic side, but 80% is how you made me feel. When you sit down with the HR people and y'all end up talking about 20 years ago, like, I like you. So let me see your resume for real. You want to feel for that person. You want to feel for that
Yeah.
brand. You want to
Yeah.
feel for that business. It's not just numbers, it's how does that make me feel? Do I like that? You know?
And yeah,
I feel
you
Rivian's
said
been
they. Okay, go ahead.
I feel Rivian's been sneaky repackaging their little kitchen, so it made me feel like, hey, what are they trying to say here when they package the kitchen and the car together?
Yeah, they're probably doing double advertisement though. That's a thing I just found out as well. Like commercials, if you're paying attention, like Super Bowl, I don't even watch football, and I know you do, just I don't watch it, but I
Yeah.
know the commercials that the marketing tool behind that and the marketing budget for that,
Yeah.
it's multiple commercials in one commercial. They're
Mm.
not just
Yeah.
marketing the subway or the blimpies. They're marketing the shirt that he wore, the desk, the TV that he has, the shoes that he has on, the rug on the floor. It's so much that's being done in just 30 seconds.
Right. No, and yeah, even when we talk about like the budgets for that, it's almost the budgets of like some movies just for a commercial. Even if you talk specifically
Literally,
like for the Super Bowl, I mean,
Mhm.
it's really crazy because they do
literally.
get quite extravagant with just the commercial, and it's just like a 30-second spot. So
And we study the commercials. You got to think after the Super Bowl, every class does a segment or a project acknowledging the Super Bowl commercials. Like it's a
Come on.
study. That's why they spend so much because everyone's watching it. Not
Yeah,
even
look at
just at home
Duolingo.
at the game.
Right.
Exactly.
Look at Duolingo. Duolingo did that bold statement the last Super Bowl. Every content creator is all over it.
That's on
Like
it
out inside Duolingo, outside Duolingo, even if you don't have
everywhere.
what was the one that people was that all the other language kind of softwares are kind of like, oh, look what they did, you know?
yeah,
Exactly. But they did that. They did that, and they used that budget. They used that opportunity, and they made it. It definitely was like a huge investment, and it paid off.
Mm.
Literally.
wow, awesome. No, that's very enlightening. So again, we have Amani Mansur here on the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. So as we shift gears a bit and just again learns a little bit more about you, Amani. So I understand you have a couple projects you have going on, and maybe you could shed some light on. I know you say you just got back into school and you're working on like some grants and programs, things of that nature. So maybe if you just share a little bit with our listeners and what you have going on.
Yeah, definitely. So I just recently re-enrolled back into college, and I also am a teacher.
Nice, congrats.
So multitasking is one of my strengths and weaknesses. If you know, you know. But
Yeah.
the school that I work at, it's an elementary school, and it's a Title One school. So do you know what a Title One means?
I just
No, you.
figured. Okay, I just figured it out. So it's certain backup for the curriculum from the state in the school, right? Like it's not like they're by themselves developing the curriculum or even
Yeah,
supporting. Yeah. So I just my
that
kid's
and
school just got it too, so I didn't know until they got it.
yeah. So it's definitely that, and then also Title One schools can also be for the lower income. So if you live in an area, and it could be a lot of big houses there, but there's majority smaller houses or low income families. They send their children to Title One so they can get access to free or reduced lunch,
Okay.
kind of assist more with like behavioral problems as well as academic problems. So my new role is just helping individual small groups with academic assistance. A lot of them battle with ADHD, some behavior problems, childhood trauma. You name it, they're dealing with it times five. And because it's a Title One school, most of the children don't have access to funds because their parents don't. So I'm walking in every day and I'm always seeing a flyer that they want these dues, they want these $10, and I'm like, if I'm looking at this how I'm looking at it, if these children can afford the basic necessities, how can we expect them to give us $5 for a fundraiser or $10 for this event
Right.
or be able to
There you
join
go.
this club for 10? It didn't make any sense to me. So
Right.
I was like, okay, let's leverage what I know and who I know to my benefit. So I spoke to a couple of people that were higher up and I was just saying, like, have you guys looked into grants? And the answer was yes, but I translated no because if you know, you know. So I was just bringing it up to them that, instead of having to ask the children's parents for money, why don't we just get a sponsorship or a grant to help out with some activities? So that's a project I'm working on right now, just allowing some things that the kids want to do to be able to be done without having to pay money. It's more so just saying, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to this versus, hey, mom, can I get $20?
100%.
You know?
Mm.
So it's a tedious, time consuming, patient project that I'm working on that requires a lot of overstanding, but it's one of those things that has to get done. And I would love for it to continue to keep going. But I'm working on that and just leveraging, like I said, the business side of it, the data side of it, the marketing side of it to actually do it on a scale like this so that it could be used for the school year, for next school year, and even to more schools in Gwinnett County and other counties so that we don't have to keep asking kids for money. We're just
Right.
saying we had a stipend or we had a generous donation from X, Y, and Z to have a certain amount of students participate in this activity. And of course, you have to have a good academic or behavior, but allowing them opportunity to do something and not pushing money,
Right.
100%. I appreciate it because, and I don't know if our listeners caught it. She said overstanding instead of understanding. But we appreciate folks like you, especially me as a parent, because I'm right there with you. The activities are dialed into like the PTA boards. The trustees in the city know where the STEM programs are and how they attend them. And just recently becoming, a benefactor, a parent of a Title I school, I don't have to pay out of pocket. You're right. The grants are tapped up. They're dialed in. The behavioral courses are there. The medical is there. So I appreciate folks like you that are doing that groundwork because you're right. It is overwhelming as a parent to say, man, I got to shell out another $100 to go to this function for the school or to go to an event in the city. So I'm up here in Baltimore County, right? And a lot of times there's a contention between where the event is happening and how the students can get there. But someone like you is already tapped up and said, well, we got a bus here. We got this program. You can participate as a parent, even volunteers. I love it. And your kid can go for free because this event is in the Title I designation. So I appreciate it. Keep going. It is, and I could imagine with you explaining it, we might have to do another episode if you become a friend of the show because I can't see what the back end looks like. I don't have the patience as a parent, right? I know there's a lot of like data munging and political factors, like you said, and those who don't know about grant writing.
Political.
Right. Those folks that don't know about grant writing act like they do, and then the kids don't go to this event because the grant fell through, right? So I appreciate it. We might have to do another episode on that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you as being a parent being involved, just I don't want to digress too much, but it's very important for parents to be involved into their children's life because it empowers them to do better when they know they have someone that's applauding them versus they get home and this is nothing. So thank you for doing your part. And it requires a team effort. I don't have children, but I have cousins, nieces, and nephews. And when I step in, I step in, so just being able to play the role and be in it and be active is a powerful thing that anyone could do, So thank you as well.
I appreciate it. But one thing I'm going to say too, to your kudos as well, is I have an impatience with the politics. So when it's, hey, my kid has to go to this function that, all the kids should be able to go to. And it's like, well, we have to cancel the function. Or the city or county might have said, we don't have the funding to do this thing. And I'm like, no, like, So I
The
appreciate you too for
politics is the
navigating
worst
that.
part. The
Yeah.
politics is the worst part. I made a statement to another teacher. I said, because this is my second year. I said, I didn't realize how big of a role politics played in education. And it's
Me neither.
actually scary. It's actually scary. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is why is politics so heavily influencing the education system? And like, there needs to
Right.
be a study on when did this happen, why did it happen, when do they plan on leaving? Because it
Right.
doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I'm baffled so many times. I'm just like, you know what? Smile and wave. We're gonna get through this, but this does not make any sense. And I deal with numbers, so things have to make sense to me. If it doesn't make sense, I'm like,
I'm borrowing it from Shannon and Ryan. Shout out to the other side of the firewall. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. And then that's why politics and people have to show up. I hate to say it that way, but it is kind of with the politics comes the money factor, right? A lot of folks can't afford these programs, so they know. And a lot of the numbers your folks like you're crunching know exactly what city can and can't afford it, know exactly which district. So that's I suspect. And again, nobody sent me any letters. I suspect that's how politics got involved because they know it's a
100%.
10-mile radius to this district, another 50 miles to another district, right? They kind of know the whole constituent body already.
100%.
And if maybe you could just share a bit, regarding your experience, what you deal with as far as creating a business and everything like that, like how cybersecurity has played a part in that. What
Ooh.
do you feel like are maybe the most significant emerging threats in cyber today, at least from your perspective, and how you feel organizations should prepare for them?
That's a great question. I will say, starting out, when you initially get a client, they're going to share a lot of sensitive data with you. It's logins, it's passwords, it's accounts, it's money. They're going to share a lot of information. That information is like extremely sensitive. This information, you don't want this to get out. So I've learned, there has to be systems put in place, multi-factor authentication processes that allows my client to send me stuff that won't get tampered with. But what I'm realizing now, which is extremely terrifying, is we have a lot of bots, not just that are calling you on the phone, they're emailing you, they're
Mm-hmm.
sending you stuff on Facebook, TikTok, Google, and they're acting as if they're these large companies when they're not. And I had a situation that happened last year with one of my clients, and she uses Business Suite, so her Facebook and Instagram are all through her Business Suite. So she got an email. It was an email within Business Suite from a bot, but if you didn't look at it, you wouldn't know that it was a bot. And they were asking her to change her password. So
Mm.
what that would have done was that would have taken her account and hacked it. So she was nervous about it. She sent it to me, and I said, "No, don't do it." And
Right.
but with that being said, there's so many people that probably get scammed out of it because I knew that it was fake by looking at the way they typed and also like the email that it was sent from. It said Google at AX014532,
Yeah,
yada
you
yada
already
yada.
know. Yeah, yeah,
And she's an older client, so she
yeah.
was about to change her password, not knowing. And
Right,
I think these type of things, like with all this AI and stuff like that, it's scary because I don't think it will target someone like me in a sense or you in a sense, but to someone who's not self-aware and to someone who doesn't know, they will get scammed out of millions of dollars. They'll lose their account access. They'll
right.
lose the ability to move. And Facebook, once you do something suspicious, you're banned. So it's very scary on the side of it when it comes down to a business owner because you're at risk by default. You're just at risk. And I
Right.
think it's very important for people to prioritize getting like cybersecurity, like getting those systems in place because it just takes one bot to send you one link and for you to click that link and go into that and now you've lost it all. So I always just advise anyone that I've worked with, like, hey, like before you get after you get anything suspicious or something questionable, or you just kind of have to think twice, let me see what it is because it's very scary. and they're only getting smarter. They're only getting smarter. I had an email sent out last week from one of my mentors, and it had the same. It was the same exact email font of how he does his, same picture, same email. The only thing that was spelled wrong was instead of he uses an S, they used a Z. And he was saying, "Hey, could you change your could you share your direct deposit so I can send you this new updated invoice?" Which he's never asked me for that, and he's always called beforehand.
Right.
And I was so close until I looked, and I'm like, wow, they are getting smarter and smarter with doing it. And I only took the extra steps because I'm just like, I know that this person doesn't ask for that unless they call me and then let me know.
Right.
So I think it's scary. I think anyone who loves what they have and cherishes what they have, they will protect it. They will encrypt it. And it might cost a little bit more, but it will save you so much more down the line because they're getting better, they're getting smarter. They don't just do phone calls, they don't just do emails, they do apps and they do softwares, they send links, they make accounts, they'll engage with you. You have to just be able to distinguish the two. I know people that send money to bots just not even knowing that this is actually a bot, but it looks like a real person. You know, someone could use your face, create a LinkedIn account, and then scam people. And if they weren't intuitive enough to double check, they would think they're talking to you.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that you have to really be very careful because I really believe that there's like the war is a cyber war. It's not a real. It's
Oh, there
this
it
is the
is.
war. It's a cyber war. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if I can get all your data, if I can steal all your information and make you pay me to get it back to you, I won. You know, and it's scary because people lose a lot. You know, there was a recent hack at the airport. I'm not sure how long it lasts. Was it with Windows?
Which would be
I think
FAA or the
I think
CrowdStrike?
What?
Windows had went down, and then the airport, in
Oh,
effect to
Yeah,
that,
that was
talking
it
about
CrowdStrike.
couldn't fly.
Yeah,
CrowdStrike,
yeah,
yeah.
CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike.
So real
Yeah.
quick, let's tap this up a little bit too, right? So first of all, give yourself more credit because you taught us two sides of the fence that we didn't know. One, you dialed into the human intelligence of someone's marketing and digital strategy, leading to an attack vector. So give yourself that cyber badge because coming
All right.
outside, you taught us the same things we hear on the cyber side, but you know the person. We don't really know that client, right? We don't really know that engagement, how somebody invoices, how somebody sends their email and digital strategy, what links they're using, and the lack of encryption. That comes from you folks like you. So tap that up and give yourself kudos. The second side that I like is that I just heard and learned from is I don't know and engage with the folks like that to know that have that human intelligence, have that relationship with them to say, hey man, this person doesn't send us invoices like that. Or hey, this person might be going through something and they might be trying to pay really quick. Right. We don't see that in cyber. Content, digital strategy, and marketing folks, however, they have that like closer, more intimate, knowledge of, hey, this person is restructuring their business, or this person I deal with on a daily day might need this kit of content. Right. And then this content sanctioned and this content is not. So thank you, because you taught us, like we said in the pre-show, you taught us something that we don't even look at. We try to use a tool for it. We try to use technologies for it, but it's always that person on the ground that has that human intelligence to say, nah, this client doesn't usually do this. This client doesn't
Yeah.
really send us these links like crazy from whatever actor or that we flagged in a tool, right? Or whatever bot,
Exactly.
right? Or this bot that's savvy at bypassing, EDR, right? You being
Yeah.
the person on the ground have dialed in and gotten us the evidence that we need in cyber. Say, no, this is unusual because I deal with this person every day. So yeah, we
Exactly.
appreciate that. The second
Yeah.
thing I heard, and I can go off on this topic too. Yes, it is a war, but the private sector is not in that grounds. Private sector cannot understand the war that is going on actively, targeting their client base.
Literally.
There's no means thing that the private sector can say, oh, we could take this on head to head, right? We could go up against it, but the bad guys know that.
Exactly.
Right. So the
Exactly.
victimology that you mentioned increases the more successful I am at building my marketing strategy or digital strategy. And then I have to rely on folks like you to tell me, hey, look out for this, look out. And this goes for any business owner, right? They're coming out trying to be successful, and adversaries know that, right? So I
Exactly.
appreciate that words of wisdom too, because it is kind of like a low yield war.
It definitely is. And if you don't know better, you won't do better. But once you know better,
Mm.
you're bound to do better. So and even in the marketing space, cybersecurity is there because it's one of those things you're sharing a lot of sensitive data. Like, I'm not just giving you my Instagram account, I'm giving you access to all of my social medias, my websites, even my emails, or it's so much sensitive data that can get lost if you're not responsible with how you deal with it. And if you're not responsible, you could lose and destroy a big business that worked years trying to build, and they expected you to scale their business, and you just took their work and lost it. So it's scary because you have to be very responsible. Even me, like, it might look legit, but if you have to raise an eyebrow, it's probably not real. It's probably not truthful. If Google's reaching out to you, they want to hire you full time and they didn't schedule a call, they just said click the link and you have to be rational and, you know what I'm saying, really question it because they're really legit. They'll even call me, and you know how this works when they call you so much that they know how your voice is. So by the eighth call, they call you and speak in your voice. They can use your tone of voice. They can understand your type of tone or how you talk to other individuals. They're so good at it that you have to be very careful. Even making cash apps and bank accounts under someone's name and requesting it, like, if you don't know, you'll fall for it. But if you know, it takes 2 seconds to call someone and say, "Hey, is this you?" Versus, "Okay, I sent it." So
right, and
you
make
just
sure
got to be
Skynet is
very
not on the
careful.
other side.
No, 100%. Because, like I said, if you don't know, you don't know. And if you're in this space, it's harder for you to get got. But if you don't know about this, like, even to not just the older generation, but to the younger generation, there's apps, there's ads on games and softwares. If you click on this, you could destroy your whole computer. And my father just taught me as a kid, because he's in cybersecurity. He was like, "Don't ever click an ad." He just said, "Don't ever click an ad."
I think the biggest thing, and what I take away from what you shared, is just really just having that awareness to have that eye to know what to look for when something doesn't seem right, and not to just just unwillingly go along and click something, and then you're giving away your data, your access. Because I think about we could think about our parents' generation, but maybe Amani, you might be in a different category, because especially as you mentioned, your father was already in cyber, so he already had that keen eye. But so I'll just use my parents for example. So they don't have that. I'd say more or less computer illiterate. They depend on myself and my siblings to help them out. And when they have the newest iPhones, this is from recommendations from us. We're helping them we're keeping them current. You know what I'm saying? So, but also at that same time too, I do appreciate that they do ask, especially with myself. They do ask me questions about certain things, and to help them to make sure they're not falling trapped or falling susceptible to any sort of scheme or anything like that. But there are still many other cases where you may not, maybe our older or previous generation may not have that luxury, and then they fall susceptible, to some of these schemes. So I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you guys saw the movie, The Beekeeper, with Jason
That's what I was
Statham.
just thinking. That was
I
Yeah,
gotta check
because
that out.
Felicia Rashad, it was a perfect fishing example where she was at her retirement home. She finally retired and everything like that, and
with so much money.
it was a ton of money. She was on the phone, and she had to change her password, I think, or something like that. And then after that, like 2 seconds, all of it gone. Like all the accounts just drained in like 5 seconds. It was horrible, and I think she unfortunately took her life because of that.
Yeah.
So no, yeah. So I think it is it's so important just to have that awareness, to have that cybersecurity awareness. So even if you don't have it yourself, get with someone, get someone who consult that you trust to help consult. And when we're talking about as far as maybe just like your business, someone who can help lead your business to make sure it is being cybersecurity aware, that you have those security protections in place. But then also too, like for your personal, making sure that you are taking those protective measures to make sure you don't fall susceptible, like in a case like that where maybe you come towards like retirement age, you worked all your life, and now you don't want to see all those earnings just gone in like 5 seconds because you hit the wrong link. So
Could I
No,
tap into that a little bit too, Dr.
yeah,
Joseph? Right. So we gotta also mind you, when we become of that age, we gotta realize it's a whole generational warfare tactic that happens, right? So my parents, right, are like yours. One gave me a nod to my father, rest in peace, and his brother, rest in peace, right? They said it was electronic warfare, right? So back in the day, it was phone, it was radio, it was more analog, and it was accessible just like everybody else. But they kind of had a nod to like, well, I'm not going to do that on the phone. So to your point, Amani, like everybody would had that like, I got to talk to somebody either on the phone or face to face. So the shift for us is that's gone.
It's definitely
Right.
gone.
So the double
100%.
dip, the double dip. That's kind of a culture shock for the older generation, my mom included. Right, is how do I do this on the iPhone opposed to
Yeah.
landline, right? How do I do this on the mobile instead of a desktop, right? Like, so there is a gap, and that generational gap is happening to us too. When we are going to say, how did the AI do this? Why is the AI doing this for me when we're in of age? And it also manages our retirement because look at the companies today. We got, we may even have a shorter run than 20 years, right? It might be 10 years because of how rapid the spectrum of warfare is increasing. I hate to say it that way, knock on wood, but it is one of those things where in our parents' generation, it was electric going to digital warfare.
Yeah.
Then those two became cyber. And then now the fallacies in cyber warfare are going to become AI warfare.
Exactly.
Right? So
And just become of
age, when we become of age, we got to keep mindful in our, cognitive functions when our kids come and say, so and so AI did this for me. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to log into my bank account and move money or my retirement package. This AI did that.
That's scary. Well, just to even say that you have to just keep learning. Like with this world, if you miss something, you're going to fall behind because if you don't learn, you'll fall for the finesse. That's all I just say. You have to keep learning because all it does is evolve. It just evolves.
right.
It gets better. It gets smarter. It gets more strategic and calculated. If you don't evolve with it, you'll fall for the games, and it's scary because we're in a data warfare where everyone wants your data. Everyone wants to know what you're doing, what you like, X, Y, and Z, and it sometimes can be overwhelming. Even for me, I have to get a new phone because I have so many bots that are just calling me. They've shared my number with a million other numbers. I'm like, no, we can't do this. So
Right.
it's just being self-aware and also learning. And when you notice something, acknowledge it and fix it there, because it could just sit there and collect more and more and more and more because you ignored it. And now you're not even at threat. Everyone around you and your immediate is also at threat. So it's just, you gotta just keep learning. It just evolves so much. Even for me, there's so much AI software that could make my life easier. But once it wants access to my Google, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want you to get access to my Gmail. I
Right.
just don't feel comfortable with that. Some people might. I just know for me, things that I don't want to share with someone who's going to share my data to a big buyer who just wants to buy my data. So even going to certain places, I had to tell my friends, I'm like, hey guys, we don't use public Wi-Fi. They're like, what do you mean we don't use public Wi-Fi? They're like, what do you mean it's free? Nothing is ever free. You're
Yeah,
gonna get spammed.
somebody spam. You pay for it in some way.
100%. 100%.
They're gonna get their cut somewhere.
And before we lighten it up, that plays into our one of our questions that we often ask before our lighter question is, so you touched on some of the key challenges, right, that we face in the industry. What key challenges have you faced on your journey to success, and how did you overcome them in your profession?
I would say the biggest one is probably imposter syndrome. And when I looked up what it meant, I was like, that's so cliche. I don't have that. That's just another
Nice.
word they give us to put us in a title. No. And then I was like, realization, awareness. We have imposter syndrome. And for me, when I got into this space, I had a little bit of knowledge because my father, he knows a lot about technology. My mother, she always ran businesses and marketing. So I had a perspective, but also as I was learning, that when you learn now, you don't know. When you learn something, you begin to realize you don't know anything at all. You just know what you just found out. So I would go into these spaces, and after I got a certification or after I finished a course, and I would go around VPs and executives and people in HR, and I was like, I do not belong here. These people have 20 plus years experience. They've been working at the highest, best leagues of businesses. I have little experience. I don't deserve to be here. And that was very challenging for me because, I always wanted to prove to myself that I knew something. So when I would go into a space with overly qualified people, I would go home and learn more. But I didn't realize that, if I was in that space, I deserved to be in that space. And my mentors, they reminded me so much that we all start somewhere. You don't just jump to the 100th floor. You start the first floor and you walk and you walk and you get to the fifth one, you get to the 10th, the 20th, the 30th, and you keep going. So I would say that was my biggest challenge, is just dealing with that, but also understanding that, I'm growing and I'm learning and it's going to take times and I'm going to fall. Just get back up. If I don't know something, simply ask. So definitely that. And I'm overcoming that now, in the sense of just knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be, versus this doesn't feel right. No, I'm supposed to be here. And if I don't know something, write it down or ask someone and use the space to my advantage to know more about how they got here, what they did. And also with that tactic, I've been learning a lot of what not to do. And a lot of what I would have, people always tell me, if I was 25, I would have did this. And I'm taking notes like, okay, what else would you have done? So leveraging that imposter syndrome to my benefit and just saying, I belong here and how can I best acclimate and adjust to this environment was one. And then I would say the second one for me was learning how to deal with different people who have different backgrounds, different mindsets, and not taking this space so personal. At the beginning, I took every criticism, every critique personal. I would take it so personal, and I'm not even realizing that this is just their job to give feedback so that this looks better. So learning how not to take things personal. At the beginning, it was so challenging, but overall, I began to learn, if they can tell you how to do it better, take that and make it better and use that as your basis when you're building.
Okay. We appreciate it. Thank you, Amani. So now we're going to lighten it up a little bit, all right? This is one of our most important questions on the show. What is your favorite coffee preference?
So don't be mad at me. I don't drink coffee. I stopped drinking coffee 2 years ago. But I have two drink choices that will give you the same rush. So the first one for me is a vanilla chai latte with almond milk and caramel on top. And then boba. The leche boba. Oh my God. I don't know if it's because it's so much more sugar than coffee, but I can be up for 12 hours straight and then I'll crash after. But those are my top two. Vanilla chai latte. I get a matcha latte every blue moon if I want to look healthy.
That's funny because my daughters, my twin daughters, they're oh my gosh, 22. So yeah, but they swear by boba, and
see, that's the thing that we
like,
missed, right? Where did it come from? like boba's everywhere too. Like,
yeah, so they got me to try it. I mean, it's cool, but I'm still with my coffee. I was like,
I tried coffee boba, and I'm like, quite, man.
Coffee boba. I never tried that.
They have,
you might like boba. That.
Yeah, they have. Well, it's different too. There's tea. There's places that have tea boba, green tea matcha boba, and then there's a special place that has like coffee derived, chocolate derived boba. So, and they're not in the. If you're lucky, they'll be in the same boba spot, but they're always usually two separate spots. Because I guess, like you said, there's a different hit of sugar in both of these places.
I think I'm at the point where like either one of my daughters would have to get it for me, or I would have to just taste one of theirs because I would just be mad at myself to buy a full cup of boba and then for me to hate it and then just throw away $5-6.
Right.
So no, I won't be doing it anytime soon unless they get it and I try theirs.
That's great. Because you're right. It could be pretty awful, right?
I'll be.
What do you do? Do you spare them? Do you spare them your disappointment?
Yeah. So no. So I won't be trying that anytime soon. So
Got it.
He said I'm not going to do it voluntarily. Heard.
right. So, if you could have any superpower to help you in cybersecurity, what would it be and why?
Any superpower in general is invisibility for me. Ever since I was like 6, I was like, I would love to be invisible. The amount of things that I would do. I
Cause some havoc. Right.
would say for cybersecurity and anything in the tech space would probably be the superpower of speed. I would want to be like the Flash. That way I can get all my work done in 30 minutes and then
Nice.
Yeah.
get paid as if I did an 8-hour shift twice and chill.
Can you imagine how mad the Scrum Masters would be at you? Like,
Oh my God.
You've increased our velocity by 1,000.
It would suck because after me, it would be so much unrealistic expectation. They're like,
Right.
yeah, so the last person was able to do this, and they're gonna be like, what? In that amount of time? So
Yeah.
I will
It's gonna
modestly use my flash power.
it'll set the bar really high.
Yeah, everyone would hate me. Like, oh, here's this one who can finish all her work in 3 seconds
Right.
while we struggle.
Cubicle
So,
envy.
yeah. So, so lastly, before we go here, so like, what are some hobbies or interests, or anything like to do recreationally, that you enjoy besides cybersecurity or outside of work? Like, what are things you like to do just to keep yourself sane?
Oh, so this is the number one. I have to go into nature. I'm looking at the
Nice.
computer all day. From the computer, I look at my iPad. From my iPad, I look at my phone. So by 11 o'clock, my eyes are strained.
Right.
My brain is burnt out. And my hands are cramping. So I'll just sit in the grass. I'll
Yeah.
put my toes in there. I put my arms in there. Listen to some Janae Ayoko or SZA or Summer Walker, and I'll just sit and I'll just be there. I won't think about a computer. I won't think about a task. And it took me time to be able to go out there without thinking about work. But now when I go out there, I'm only there because it kind of just grounds me. And it allows me to know that although we're in this time where we're always doing something on the computer or always in front of a screen, this is not my entire reality. So
Right.
that has been important to me because I don't want to get lost in the sauce. And it happens, and I've seen
Yeah.
it happen to so many people. And I'm like, you know what? Let's get grounded. I like to run, go for walks. Anything with green grass, I'm good. Occasionally, I like to go to a game, maybe a soccer game or something like that. But just
Yeah.
do something very less effortless, not thinking. When I'm off work, I want to do anything that doesn't require me to think, type, and
Right.
talk.
Right.
Anything like that, and I'm good. I promise.
Isn't it amazing how grounding nature is? Just literally touching some grass is like the phone. And
100%.
I'm like you too. I have to like leave the phone somewhere else, or like,
Yes.
and then it's like literally breathing and touching the grass is a thing. It's literally like a thing. Just
It's
go
a
run your
thing.
hand across a blade of grass and everything kind of disappears.
Well, it's a study because they say that we already vibrate at like our feet and our hands. It vibrates on a negative charge. And grass in nature has a positive charge. So when you put your body in it, it neutralizes your energy. Once it's neutralized, then you're absorbing the positive charge. I read this in a book, actually. I
Oh,
didn't
if you
think I was
find
able to
that book,
use
let
that.
me know. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I
It's
didn't.
how to
So it
heal
makes sense.
yourself. Yeah, it's a
Wow.
good book. I'll share it to you
Awesome.
guys when we finish. But it's a real thing. Even hugging a tree, it said it allows you to live longer. It helps your heart.
Oh, and I've
Like,
done that. That's crazy.
no,
For
it's
real.
a good thing to do. And all of this is free. They're gonna charge you an arm and leg to go to the spa, and you can go out in the grass and get the same effect.
All right.
Right.
Exactly.
And do you know why they actually hug a tree? Does any so I'll share that, right? So we had a landscape graphics class. You actually hug a tree to get the perceived width of the tree when you draw it. So maybe that's connected, but yeah, I had to actually do that. And you're right. It's like reinvigorating. I don't want to sound, off, but it's like, the tree's like, thank you,
No, but you can literally. It's hard to describe that feeling, but you feel it. Like, it's like you can't explain this with words, but I felt that and I heard that, and I think the tree was talking to me, and nobody else will understand that, but we had that moment. And it was there, it's why do you think most people who like end up getting rich and successful, they just live a very chill life, they get some land and they go off, because that's really what living feels like.
I
It's
thought it
it's
was
the
just
freedom.
Thanos, right? Even Thanos wound up on a farm, like I thought it was, but it's
No, but
connected.
I also agree with Thanos. I was the friend. Everyone was mad at me when I said, I mean, why are we mad that he snapped his fingers? We needed balance. It was like, no, he's a bad guy. He was overpopulated.
The snap has always been a source of debate.
Right,
A lot of people,
controversy.
whether they agree with him or not. Again, Amani, we appreciate you spending time here on the Cyber Coffee Hour. And before we sign off, is there anything you want to share with our listeners before we go?
Yeah. Ooh, let's see what I'm being led to say. A wise person once told me, you can do anything you set your mind to, but you have to set your mind to doing it. With that being said, the mind is the most complex thing to really conquer. This is either your best friend or your worst enemy or both. So with that being said, if you really want to do something in this life, set the intention and become mindful about it, and trick your psyche, trick your self-doubt into achieving what that is that you want. If you can master the mind, you can literally do whatever you want. Like, nobody can stop you if you master this.
Right.
Master this, and you will be the greatest possible being that you could ever possibly be. So, focus on self, focus on mind, and you will succeed.
That's beautiful.
Appreciate
I love it. No, thank you. Thank you again, Amani. And thank you for those listening. Join us for another episode of the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. If you enjoy this episode, explore more engaging content in the Alive Podcast Network app. By supporting this podcast and nearly 100 other Black-hosted shows, you can enjoy ad-free listening while contributing to a diverse range of voices in the podcasting space. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more insightful conversations with you in our next episode. Until then, keep brewing those ideas and stay curious about cybersecurity. All right, that's it. That's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.
Did that. Peace.